winner at the end for us, okay?
Okay.
So excellent. We're going to go ahead and get started. Guys, we'll go ahead and put this up again. I'll walk through what what the banners are that we have going. We have our vibe session. Carmel will put it up again towards the end. Our vibe session that is again happening it's a virtual vibe, April 22nd. So there is a login for that or a link to register for that. She also had our CEs, our Aspen Dental free CEs. That link was also on there as well. So we'll get those back up this evening. So let's go ahead and get started and with introductions. So Doc, can we start first with you? Can you give us a little bit of background on yourself?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Crystal. Yeah. So I am Dr. Adam Marina. I was actually a graduate from UNLV Dental School in Las Vegas. I was actually a born and raised Las Vegan. I never lived anywhere else. I never really, consider really moving anywhere else until after dental school. I graduated in 2019. I was speaking to a few different DSOs originally about, who I wanted to work with afterwards, but it was kind of a clear choice whenever I ended up deciding on working with Aspen, and they had a good opportunity in Kansas City, and so I took it, and I couldn't be happier with my decision.
Likewise. And Joe, how about you? Can you give us a little bit of background on yourself as well?
Sure. I'm Joe Nelly. I've worked for Aspen for about 5 years now. I work with all of our new practice owners. So the time you come in to become an associate or an MCD or on your career journey from associate to MCD, you show interest in ownership, I'm working with you. So I helped Dr. Marina buy his first practice last year, and now he bought his second practice this year. And over my 5 years, I've helped about 75 new owners come into the business. So love what I do, and I love talking to everybody about practice ownership and how it works with Aspen. So happy to handle any questions tonight.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Excellent. So let's go ahead and get started. And Doc, if I don't want to forget to say congratulations on Lawrence and Topeka, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The first question that we have is, Doc, you kind of talked a little bit about this just with your background, but maybe a little bit deeper on how did you actually get started with Aspen Dental?
So it's kind of a weird route that I took, because initially I was gonna come work with you guys right after dental school, but then I get deployed to New York for the military, and so I was there for a few months and was not a fan of New York and everything. And so when I reached back out to Terry, who is my recruiter, she told me, she's like, there's not a position available in Kansas City itself anymore. We actually have this little town outside of Kansas City called Lawrence, which I had never heard of before. And she's like, yeah, you should go check it out. And so I flew out, and I loved the place, and I rented a place right away. And me and my wife moved out there with our 3 dogs, and we loved it.
That's amazing. Never thought you'd be in Kansas?
No, never. My best friend went to medical school in Kansas City, so I liked it there, but I never thought I'd live in a small town, because I lived in Las Vegas my whole life, and then I lived in New York City for 2 months. And so it was like a weird transition to go to this town of 70,000 people, but it's a pretty awesome place.
Amazing. So guys, I want to ask you guys both, as we're getting through this, the first question that I have is, how many dentists usually are in the office? So Doc, tell us a little bit about yours, and then Joe, I know you can expand on that from a little bit bigger picture then. Doc, you want to start out with that one for you?
How many dentists are in the office?
Yes.
When I first started out, because we were just opening the office, it was just one dentist. But I know, now we have two dentists, which includes me, myself, in Topeka, and one other associate, and then I have one dentist in my Lawrence office, which we are hoping to transition to eventually, and just have 2 for all the offices.
Okay, excellent. And Joe, can you give us a bigger picture too of what you see across, Aspen Nation for how many doctors?
Yeah, I think across Aspen Nation, across our 900 offices, the average is about 1.5 dentists. So as a part-time, or in a full-time, or if some offices have 2, some offices have 3, some offices have 4 dentists. But on average, there's 1 to 2 dentists in every practice. And we really have a focus to get 2 dentists at least in every office, because between the demand and patient care, we'd like to have 2 dentists in every office at a minimum.
Excellent. And keeping on that same part, I do have another question that falls right along with that. And that is, do you have specialists in your practice, or do you refer out, and who makes that decision? So Dr. Marina, maybe you could start out first with that.
Yeah, sure. So we have, I mean, currently I don't have an oral surgeon in my office, but that's just a timing issue thing. We're looking for a new one. One day a month we have an oral surgeon that comes in, and one day a month we have an endodontist that comes in. But truthfully, the oral surgery is almost all done by me. I do my own implants. I do my own third molar extraction. The only things that I usually need to refer out for an oral surgeon is extremely difficult wisdom teeth extractions, as well as like if it's a medically compromised patient on bisphosphonates or something like that we just don't want to take any chances with. The endodontist, I send him all my molar endo, but I pretty much do all my own anterior endo, and almost everything else is for specialties. I mean, we do all Invisalign cases unless they're really difficult, and I send those ones out to orthodontists. But I mean, Invisalign's come so far now that cases that even orthodontists are doing Invisalign cases or some kind of clear aligner. So I don't feel the need that I have to refer a lot of things out. I kind of figured it out on my own, which was kind of nice being the only doctor in my practice for a year, because I just kind of had to figure it out. But yeah, I mean, I definitely feel supported with the endodontist and the oral surgeon that are coming.
Excellent. And between Doc and Joe, so first, Doc, let me start with you because they want to know, when you started with Aspen, did you already know that you would be an owner, and what did that transition to ownership look like?
That was the main reason I chose Aspen over the other DSOs, because it's one of the few that you actually have true ownership of the office. It's 100% ownership, whereas with some of the other companies are 50% or less, or not even at all. So with Aspen, that was my goal coming into it. I wanted to buy an office quickly, and I wanted to expand to more offices. For years, currently on the track that Joe has me on.
Excellent, excellent. And Joe, maybe you could elaborate, because the rest of that question also has in there, can you always become a future owner of the practice that you work at? So maybe you could give us a little bit of background on the ownership program, since they're looking at, do you know when you're going into a practice if you're going to own that, or, you're hired as wanting to own that? And then again, if you're working in a practice, how do you do that? How do you go through the process of owning?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we got about 900 offices in the network today, and 700 of those offices are currently locally owned, or POP, Practice Ownership Program offices. So about 200 of them are part of our large group practice network, where we don't have a local owner. And part of what my goal is to get those 200 offices that are not owned under local ownership to become part of the Practice Ownership Program. So chances are you will start, out of those 900 offices, 700 of them are POP owned practices. So chances are you will work in a practice that is owned. But that doesn't mean there isn't going to be an opportunity to own, either to go to one of those 200 practices that isn't locally owned, or we're opening up 85 to 90 new offices per year. So, a lot of times what I see happen is I'll work with dentists in practices with practice owners, which is a huge benefit to the dentist, because clinically you can learn right out of dental school, right? But you can also learn from them on the business front as well. And after you spend some time with them, develop as an associate to an MCD, or maybe you come in as an MCD and develop over time, usually within a year or two, then a lot of dentists start feeling around and think they want to become an owner. And then I'll help place them into one of those 200 practices that I talked about that are not locally owned, or into a new practice that we're opening, one of the new 90.
Excellent. And let's kind of stay on the ownership part, because we've got quite a few questions on that. And you answered the first part of, are there ownership opportunities available with Aspen? The next part of that question is, what is the benefit of owning an Aspen office over another DSO office, so as opposed to another DSO office? So Joe, do you want to start with that, or Doc?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll let you go ahead, Joe. Go ahead. You go first.
Well, from my perspective, I look at it from a number standpoint. I mean, I've looked at the numbers and worked with a lot of private practice owners that came to former private practice owners that came to Aspen, and just looking at the numbers from the ADA, our average owners have opportunities to own multiple practices. Our average owner owns 3 practices or more, number one. And number two, just looking at it from a single office perspective, from a private practice owner standpoint, they make about $250,000 a year, and our average single office owners make about $450,000 a year. So from a monetary standpoint, you can make a lot more money. Also, from a purchase standpoint, I know a lot of you will come out with a lot of student loans, right? So we don't want to kill you with an upfront cost of a practice as well. If you buy a $2 million practice in a private practice, which is what our average practices do in our POP program, it's going to cost you $750, $1 million to buy it, and with us, it's about $350 today to buy it. So, you know, to buy a practice for $350,000 and to be able to make more money on average per year, it is, you know, pretty enticing to a lot of our owners. So from a business standpoint, that's the way I see it. But Dr. Marina, you can go ahead and talk about what you were going to say. So.
No. So, I mean, definitely the business side of things. I mean, it's honestly, I think it's easier. Sorry, we have room service. So definitely easier from a business standpoint. I think just in terms of like all the paperwork's done for you. The hard parts of like owning an office, or like, how do I figure out insurance? How do I handle, patients if they don't pay, or like, how do I find people to hire, or, who do I fire, or whatever it is. And so I kind of decided that I wanted to have a partner before I even decided I on a DSO. And then when I thought about it, I was like, okay, well, I could have a regular partner who's been general practice dentist for 20 years, who's probably pretty good at what he does, but he's only owned that office or maybe a couple offices, and so he really only has limited knowledge. Or I could partner with a DSO who is literally the best in the country at this. Like, there's no one even close at this. And so I just decided that I wanted to have the best partner possible, and that's why I wanted to choose one of the corporate. But it's okay, I got them. But one of sorry, she's trying to pour my drink.
No worries, we can barely hear it. Don't worry.
Okay, thanks. But yeah, so I mean, in terms of like business, it was just easy, and I get to do more of what I like to do, which is the dentistry, not having to worry about the the ins and outs of a day, the daily grind, And so that was one of the main things. And like Joe said, the money is significantly better. In comparing like at a private practice versus a Aspen office, I can say I probably work a lot harder than a private practice dentist, but I think that monetarily, like, the compensation's there as well.
Excellent. Thanks, guys, both of you. I have a question again from Julia, and she wants to know, is there pressure, though, to become an owner?
Definitely not. I mean, we have 900 offices and we're continuing to grow them. Our owners need associates and MCDs working in their practices, right? Our average owner owns 3 offices. So a lot of times our owners are leaning on us to make sure we hire good dentists to work for them, and they're developing them. But not everybody wants to be an owner, and that's okay. If you think about it, we have 900 offices. We only have 188 owners in those 900 offices. And we've been around since 1998. So there's been thousands of doctors that have come through, but there's only 188 owners in our mix. So there's been a lot of people that are just fine being associates or MCDs for their careers. And we're fully supportive of that because that's what our POPs need.
Yeah, I agree. And also, they also have the partnership program where you partner with someone who's an owner and you still get that ownership, a higher increased pay, but you kind of leave a lot of the headache as far as, the maybe you don't want to have to worry about as an owner to the actual owner.
Excellent.
Or to your partner.
I'm glad you brought that up, Doc, because I had questions on partnerships as well. If it's a full-out owner or if there's owners that partner, maybe you guys could talk or elaborate a little bit more on what a partnership would look like as well. Joe, do you want to take that one first?
Absolutely. So if our owners own 3 offices or more, right? By the way, we have some owners that own as many as 27 practices. Obviously, they can't be in every practice every day, right? So the goal, and once you get to 3 or more practices, we highly recommend that our owners bring on partners because they need somebody to support them in running their business and running their offices, leading their teams, training their doctors, training their staff. So we have 188 owners and we have 110 partners amongst our 188 owners. So partnership's a huge part of it. And basically what it is, we have a majority owner. So Dr. Marina owns 2 practices. So he currently just owns those on his own. But as he continues to grow, he's going to, like I said, need a partner to help him out there. So he'll sell a portion of his share of his ownership to a minority partner. And the partnership percentage is between the owner and the partner. It can be anywhere from 0% to 49% to start. And it can actually go up from there to all the way up to 99.9% once the doctor has the loan paid off. So there's partnership options as well as sole ownership options with us.
Excellent. And Doc, I have a question that they want to know, how would they express their interest in becoming a partner with you?
Just tell me. I mean, if you were interested in coming to the Kansas City region, you're kind of working in Topeka, the Lawrence office, or any of the future potential offices, just, come do a day, come shadow my office. And, we'll definitely talk about it.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. So I have a couple more questions here. This one is from Ashby, and they want to know, when you own your own office, what things can you make your own? For example, in most franchise type establishments, there's uniformity in certain things offered. So for example, can you make your own timings, or are there certain procedures you can choose not to do? Doc, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I mean, I have complete freedom in what I choose to do. I mean, like, obviously, if I was like, I'm not going to touch a single fraction, that's just not going to work with the Aspen model. So I don't think it made it very far. But truthfully, I mean, I've never once felt pressure to do, any certain procedure over anything else.
And Doc, the difference from even when you weren't an owner and you started as a managing clinical director, maybe could you add to that too on autonomy? Because I think most of that seems to go like really around autonomy for all of our doctors.
Yeah, I mean, like, whenever I first started as an MCD, like, I mean, there's still zero pressure. I mean, like, obviously there's guidance if you're looking for it, and mentorship as well if you're trying to go that route. But yeah, truthfully, I never once felt like, oh, you have to do a crown over a filling or extraction, or a root canal over an extraction or something like that. I just never felt that kind of pressure. They give you the tools to be successful without having to do that. And truthfully, with Aspen versus, I don't know, PDS or Heartland, it's not like a crown mill. I mean, we're not just running people in the door and saying like, oh, we need to do 3 crowns today to make enough money to keep the office open. It's more about just getting the patient exact care that they need. And because we have a high need of these patients, because most of our patients haven't been seen in 5 or 10 years, most of them need extractions, full mouth extractions and dentures and a lot of restorative work. So it's never like pressure to do any certain kind of dentistry over anything else. If you do what's right by the patient, you'll be successful.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. Joe, could you elaborate a little bit on that, on some of the things that you see that maybe other owners like want to make their own as well, or how you see that, can answer that question?
Sure. So when you buy a practice, you are 100% owner of the practice. You form an LLC or a business entity, and you purchase the practice from the large group practice owner. So you're that local owner, and it's all under you. So you have all the clinical decisions, like Dr. Marina said. We're not telling you anything to do clinically with your schedule, anything like that. But you also have the business decisions. You have the final say in the business decisions with our support, of course, right? You're paying a business service fee to us monthly to help support you. So if you come to us with an idea and you only want to be open 10 hours a week, we're going to strongly recommend to you not to be open 10 hours a week, because you're going to lose a lot of money. And we'll show you what that would mean. We'll model it out for you. If you open up 10 hours a week, you're going to make this much of a loss, right? So, but ultimately, if that's what you want to do, you can do that. And then you're going to probably, you'll go bankrupt. So we give you you come to us with the ideas. We tell you if it's going to work or not. And we work together to make it best for everybody, right? If you want to hire a staff, the support team's there to hire them for you. So if you have a front desk clerk, right, you might not want to put the ad in the newspaper and go through 30 people to hire, but you might want to talk to the last 2 after you talk to your regional manager and they bring them to you. So we're there to support, but ultimately all the decisions are up to you as an owner. And, we see some flexibility. Like if you want to have your hours change from 8 to 5 and you want to be open 7 to 4 because that's going to work for your business, sure, we can do that. Or if you want to be open more Saturdays or a couple less Saturdays, absolutely, that's all up to you, and you have those decisions, but we're there to support.
Excellent. Thanks, Doc. Or thanks, Joe. Doc, I have one more for you kind of on this same part for ownership, and that is, how are you responsible for keeping your office up to date in the latest technology? How are you supported with that?
I mean, I don't even need to try it. Like, I mean, they handle literally everything. I mean, like, to the point that I'm like, I didn't even know this was available. They are already like installing in their office. So I'm sure a lot of you guys know, we primarily surgical, more so like prosthetics, like dentures and things like that in our offices. And so we're moving to probably doing digital dentures, and they're already like, they just mentioned it a few months ago, and it's already like, rolling out to a few offices for trials right now. Same with our clear aligners. We're coming out with our own thing. And I mean, it's so fast and beyond like anything that I know any of my friends that are doing private practice, or it's not even on the horizon for them. And we're already in the midst of doing it.
Amazing. Hey, Joe, maybe you could talk about that from the owner's standpoint, because I know you work through that with new technologies for the owners. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that as well.
So yeah, every practice that's sold today has an iTero machine or a Trio scanner, so a scanner. So every office that you buy will be fully equipped with that, and also a CBCT in order to do implants. And we're rolling out another initiative to have, we're rolling out 3D dentures. We're starting to pilot that in some offices, and we're going to have 3D dentures. So like Dr. Marina said, we're on the cutting edge of the technology and implementing them into the offices. So when you purchase an office, you're going to have that technology available to you. And as we roll it out, we're going to roll it out into those practices that are owned first, and really be on the cutting edge of technology in all of our offices. That's our goal.
And
Yeah,
Joe, go ahead,
Sure.
Doc.
No, I was just going to say, to add to that, I was just saying that, I mean, a lot of these technologies are, because they're so cutting edge, they're also priced the same way. They're very expensive. And so being like a large corporation like Aspen, we get, we get kind of a bulk discount for these kind of things. And so stuff that is unaffordable for a lot of private practice dentists or even a lot of other DSOs, it's not unaffordable for us. I mean, for me to have a CBT, to do implants, to do, have my iTero and everything, it was a minimal cost compared to what it actually cost.
Amazing. Amazing. The next question I think is kind of interesting because they want to know, do you retrofit the offices that you purchase then with all the new technology?
Yes. So all of our offices are organically built. We don't buy existing offices, kind of sidetrack, but we build them all from the ground up. So all of our 900 offices have been like that. So when we build them, we install them with, the panos, with the CBCTs, we bring in the iTeros into all the offices.
Excellent. Thanks. Doc, this next one I have, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I have a couple questions here. Benefit wise, they want to know, do benefits vary per office, or are they standard across Aspen Nation? And is there maternity leave?
I believe, again, like I'm relatively new as a practice owner. I mean, as far as I know, there is kind of a standard as far as benefits go. However, I think that there might be, depending on if you're like in a POP owned office, I think that there might be some variation based on that, but only to increase, never to go below what's already available.
Great answer for that too, because you're absolutely right. Joe, do you want to elaborate any on that?
Yeah, they're standard across all of our offices. So if you're from a dentist standpoint, for instance, if you're a lead dentist in an office, you're going to receive benefits on a weekly, monthly basis. And when you buy your practice, you're going to continue to receive those benefits. So it's kind of seamless when it transitions over. And the same thing for your staff. The staff on your team, when you're the lead dentist, they'll get their benefits. And once you purchase the office, they'll continue to have the same benefits. And they're uniform across pretty much, they're uniform across the whole company. So we can get it, benefits of being in a group, and you can pay less for benefits as comparison to be maybe in a smaller private practice.
Excellent. Doc, before I go back to this last question, there's one more question on ownership that came up. Hold on a second. What, at the time where you're ready, what would your retirement process look like with owning an Aspen Dental? So I guess, Doc, what would that look like when you get to the point where you would maybe want to retire?
Who retires? Actually, maybe Joe, you know more about that, because as far as what I've been told, it's like you can sell off, but like I don't really know about that. I'm kind of on the beginning stage planning for retirement.
So don't give Dr. Marina any ideas, but no, the way it works, we've been doing this for 20 years. So we've had actually some dentists that are starting to think about retirement. So the beautiful thing about owning the practice is when you buy it for whatever price you buy it for, it's going to appreciate in value, just like a house that you buy, right? And when you go to sell your practice in the future, whatever you sell it for, you keep all the proceeds. So, we've had a dentist recently that has been in there since the beginning, and he bought his practice for $100,000 or whatever the price was. He just sold it for $700,000 to one of his partners outright. So he keeps all that $700,000. So he made all the money over the last 20 years of the monthly income from being the business owner. And he also was able to sell the practice at a very appreciated value. So, you know, he owns 10 practices and he's not ready to retire, but he's looking to slow down. So his retirement plan is slowly selling off of his offices, and he just spends a little bit of time in the remaining offices that he has. Some other owners are like, hey, I don't want to sell it off completely. So they'll work with their partners, and instead, at this point, they don't have any loans on the offices. So they'll sell 80% or 90% of it and keep 10% of the office, and kind of just work in there on some of the big cases and stuff like that until they're ready to retire. And then there's others that have just sold them off completely and you know, and enjoyed retirement off altogether. So that's one of the benefits of working with us. And a lot of the, probably one of the next questions that you'll say is, does it have to be sold to a dentist? And the answer is yes, it does have to be sold to another dentist. And usually what happens is you've built up a practice that's worth something and it's valuable, and there's owners around you that are going to be fighting to buy that office and around you. So just like a house bidding war, you can sell that office for a premium at that point.
Outstanding. That's a long way down the road for you, Dr. Marina, right?
Yeah. No,
Excellent. I have to ask you this one because this one came in and I thought that this was kind of interesting. Do you plan on staying with Aspen Dental, or do you want to have a private practice in the future?
I have no reason to go to private practice. I love Aspen Dental.
Excellent. I don't know we need to say much more than that. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a good question though. So the next question I have, Doc, is first of all, do you do any teledentistry?
I've done a couple. I mean, truthfully, like I just haven't had a lot of patients that have asked for it. I mean, we are open to it. I mean, whenever the pandemic hit, Aspen was like 8 days or something, and they had like from having zero teledentistry to having something that's completely up and running and available to most of the offices was like 8 days, and so it was unbelievable. But I mean, I personally haven't done that much.
Okay, and then Doc, here's the next question on from the same person is, do you get to choose the labs that you use? Let me see if there's more onto this.
Yeah, I mean, I can use whatever labs I want. I mean, obviously that there's labs that are, more affordable than others, in terms of like we have preferred providers, preferred labs that we use. And so, I mean, most of them, I've tried all of them out, and I find ones that I'm extremely happy with. And I've sent stuff to smaller labs to see what, what's comparable and cost wise and everything. And I mean, it's again, it's not even comparable. I mean, the stuff we get from the labs that we use, they have to provide a high quality product because they're serving 900 offices, and they have to be fast and they have to be affordable. And I mean, it's just like you're working with labs that are above and beyond just a normal, private lab around the corner from your office.
And Doc, you have a warranty with them as well, right?
Yes. So like, I mean, I've had, a bunch of times, like not a bunch of times, but I've had times where, partial denture doesn't fit, or the patient's just like, oh, I hate that color. And I just send it back. They send me a brand new one. I mean, I've had zero trouble with the labs, and I mean, I don't even have to talk to them directly. I just tell my front office, and they send one email, and it gets all fixed for me.
Excellent. So the next part of this question is, and this kind of goes back to probably maybe ownership, but it says, if someone is interested in working in a state that Aspen is not in yet, how can that person get the process started of opening one in that particular state? So maybe Joe, I'll give that one over to you then.
Yeah, so we're in 44 states and we have 6 to go, and most of them are on the West Coast, but we're looking to go in all those 6 states within the next couple of years. So real estate team, we have real estate members in all states looking at different cities and locations, and we always want to be in the top real estate. So we're continually looking at going into those new states, and we have had some new grads come in, not even in new states, but new areas of existing states that we're in. For instance, we had a doc that graduated last year that was from El Paso, Texas. And we were thinking about going to El Paso, Texas, but we didn't really have a person that wanted to go there. And then she kind of raised her hand and said she wanted to go there. So with her help, and she was doing a great job for us, we worked with real estate, got the office open, and now she owns it. So, that's kind of how it works. Of course, we have a lot of people in the network that are interested in owning in other states now that I've spoken with. So it's a matter of timing and working with those people and new grads. But, we did a study a couple of years ago I think it was 2 years ago, and with a third party, and we said, how many offices can we continue to open in the United States and not touch our existing demand of our existing offices that we own? And it was 800 additional offices, and that's when we were at around 750 offices. So we still have 700 offices at least in the United States that we can open without touching the demand in our existing offices, and we're planning on doing that, and then potentially growing into Canada, Puerto Rico, and growing from there after we do that. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity.
Excellent. And Doc, what advice would you give to a dental student that, is wanting to go, maybe come to Aspen, but ideally wants to be in a state that we're not in yet?
I mean, like that's kind of how I was. Whenever I was still in dental school when I went to one of the ASDA events, and I actually met Bob Fantana there. And I mean, I was like a dental student, and Bob Fantana, if you don't know, he's the owner of Aspen Dental. And I mean, he just walked right up to me, he was talking to me. He was a really awesome, amazingly smart guy. And I kind of mentioned to him, I was like, hey, I'm from Nevada. When are you guys opening there? And he's like, oh, we're gonna get to all of them eventually. And then he brought someone over that was like, that literally was at the same event and was like, oh yeah, we have it on. These are our states that we have over the next 2 years. Nevada's not there yet, but if you're looking at that, come work for one of us in another state. And whenever that does come available, if you're doing, what you want to do, and you're happy with Aspen and you want to go there, and you're on the board to be one of those people that could open one of the offices, you have first choice. So.
And still you love Kansas, which is amazing.
Yeah, yeah, I still love Kansas. I don't think I'll go back to Nevada.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So the next question I have is, I also know that Aspen obviously recruits current students. It seems that an Aspen office may be more fast-paced than others. So as a student who sees 2 to 6 patients per day, comparatively, what does a typical day look like in terms of patient turnover at an Aspen office, and what you may know about turnover at other offices? So Doc, you want to take that one?
Turnover, I'm sorry, I don't fully understand the question.
So let's see. And what you may know about turnover. It looks
Because
like,
in regards to new patients and how we get them through the flow, I think that's
what it looks like.
Yeah. You're definitely going to see more patients than you do in dental school. With any private practice or DSO you go to, it's always going to be increased. I mean, I see quite a few patients in a normal day. I'd say 30 patients or more. I mean, of which most are like denture adjustments and things like that are handled either by a dental assistant or like a temporary crown or something like that popped off or something. It's something that's pretty simple, and a lot of those are like things I just need to be in the room for 5 or 6 minutes for. The bigger procedures, I'd say I do, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 big procedures a day, and mixed in with smaller ones there, crown preps and things like that, and then 1 or 2 like full mouths or something like that in a day. I don't feel overloaded. I mean, at first it is a little bit much, but I think that's going into anywhere. You're going to feel like this is different than dental school. I have to see more patients, and then there is a time expectancy because the patients understand that I'm a doctor now. I'm not a dental student. So there is a little bit of difference in that, but overall, I mean, you pick up speed so fast, you don't even realize it.
Doc, could you talk a little bit to a new student that comes in? Because I know that you're going to have a new grad in in August of this year. How does their schedule develop?
So the first couple weeks, I have the dentist with me every single day. They sit there and they basically assist me on the procedures. They see how I do my new patient exams. They see how I do my full mouth extractions, my crown preps, things like that, just to kind of see like the average workflow. After that, we'll slowly, we'll spend the next week, kind of putting them into basic procedures, fillings, crown preps, and then, every week we'll kind of add on a little bit more and more until they get to the point that they feel comfortable, adding up to a full day or, a full normal schedule like mine, or, we'll keep it at where they're comfortable until they can get up to a schedule that's, like a full MC schedule, a managed clinical director schedule.
So Doc, are they determining the times then for the procedures on their schedule?
The doctors, yeah, they determine their own. Actually, whenever you come to my office, you write down like roughly how much time you think that you need per procedure, so that we can designate that much for you. I don't put pressure on them to be faster. I think that most of them want to do it on their own because they want to keep their patients satisfied and do better themselves. So it's never been like with my 2 dentists that I've had to work with, or 3, no issue.
Excellent, thanks, Doc. The next question I have is going to kind of take us over to some of the philanthropy work that we do. And that is, does Aspen do any volunteer events to give back to the community, like free dental days? Doc, do you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, so we haven't done it in my office yet because again, I've only been there 1 year, and last year was COVID. So the one day that I have been a part of before, when I was actually still a dental student, I just came to shadow Dr. Nib, who's in I think she's in Pennsylvania now. They do like a Veterans Day where they give free dental treatment, whatever can be done in that day to any of the veterans. And I think there's other programs. I know that there's some international programs that they had before that they're kind of redeveloping right now. And revamping. But truthfully, when it comes down to it, I've even just done days where I'm like, okay, hey, I'm going to have this day of the month where I'm going to have homeless population coming in. So I've worked with one of the homeless centers in my city in Lawrence, and I set up a program with them to just give free dental work. And I told Aspen about it, and they were like, yeah, that's awesome. Can we write up a little thing about that, saying like what you're doing and who you're helping? And yeah, I mean, it's no big deal at all. If you want to give, care away, as long as it, makes sense for the community, and it's, you're not putting anyone at risk.
That's awesome, Doc. Joe, anything you want to add to that?
No, yeah, I think the biggest day is the day of service. And like you said, with COVID, it was kind of set back last year. We also have the mobile mouth mobile that we bring to different cities. It's just basically a big, trailer of dental care that we provide to different veterans across the country too. So that's another thing that we do throughout the year.
Yeah, and we generally have, or I should say, typically we have 2 international outreach programs. So where we're going to, what were the last ones? Jamaica, I believe, and
Wasn't there one in Cambodia or something a couple of years ago?
Cambodia, Jamaica,
Guatemala, I think we've
Nicaragua.
been all over.
Yes, we have. So typically there's two a year, and it was generally Dr. I that was supporting those, right? And
Yes.
bring a team of dentists and a team and hygienists along with them to that. So yeah, it's a
Yep.
great. So those are some of the things that we do. Let me look and see what the next question is here, Doc. It is, what kind of malpractice does Aspen Dental have their dentists sign up for? Occurrence or claims made? Nope.
I actually
That's
don't know.
okay. That's
I'm
okay.
not, I, it's standard across the network. I'm honestly not exactly sure if it's occurrence or claims made myself.
I'll find out.
Yeah.
I'll find, yeah, I can look it up right now, but it'd take me away from it. So I'll find out for you, Julia, and I'll let you know what that is, on which one it is. Excellent. And then Doc, let's go back to a little bit about the patients. You were talking about your schedule. Could you walk us through a little bit more on how many patients you see per day?
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, like on an average day, like I said, I see, a couple big procedures, 2 or 3, like probably 1 full mouth extraction in the morning, 1 in the afternoon, mixed in with some crown preps, bridge preps. Every 2 or 3 days a week, I'm placing implants, and so that kind of takes up a portion of the schedule. And then we have, we have a whole column of new patients. So the new patients at Aspen Dental are like nothing you've ever seen. The amount of new patients I get in one day, most private practices don't get that in a month. So, I mean, it's not even close. I mean, there's been days I've seen 20 new patients in one single day in one office. And so, I mean, that is primarily where I focus a lot of my, my extra time is, between my procedures and my new patients. The overflow column where I'm doing denture adjustments and things like that, those are, relatively small things that, take up just a few minutes. So
Excellent.
total overall, maybe 30 patients a day, 30, 35.
Thanks, Doc. What I'm looking at is I have my little helper here that's helping with the question that we had before. So we have for the question that they had on claim, it is claims made. So 1 million to 3 million claims made policy. Most owners cover up to 2,500 per year, or some even 100% of the malpractice coverage. Just depends on the owner. So that's the answer to the question. So it is on claims made. So, and that was Terry that's on answering that question for us. So thank you, Terry Her. Appreciate that. Excellent. So the next question that we have, and maybe we'll cover a couple of these because I think this is great. So this is really going into the letter of agreement. And this is, what is the non-compete clause in your contracts? How many miles and how many years? So let's start with that one first. Doc, you want to talk about the letter of agreement and what that looks like and what there is and isn't in there for Aspen?
Sure. As an associate or MCD, I don't believe there's any non-compete with anything, like not even a foot away. I don't think they don't care about that. The Aspen contract is very simple when I was signing up to be an MCD. It was, basically like, this is your pay, this is the days that we want you to work, this is the office you're gonna be working at, and that was it. They want it, they want this to make as much sense for you as it does for them. So, it goes kind of both ways. As an owner, I think there is a non-compete, but I don't know the mileage.
Joe, do you want to answer
Yeah.
that question when you get to ownership then?
Yes, there is a non-compete in the ownership, and it's in regards to other DSOs, and it's a 10-mile radius from all of our Aspen locations. But if you were to open up a private practice, or work in a private practice, there isn't a non-compete.
Excellent. So for the associates, for a managing clinical director, anything before you're an owner, there is a letter of agreement. So there is not a non-compete. There is not a restrictive covenant. You're signing a letter of agreement up until you get to ownership. So thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. Thanks, Doc, on that. The next question I have is, and Doc, I'll give this one over to you. If you work Monday through Thursday at an office, can you work somewhere else on a Friday? So I'm thinking they mean probably a non-Aspen office on another day.
As like an associate or an MCD, yeah, sure. I mean, I don't have any issues with that. It's like, again, like I don't feel like Aspen really competes with private practices. We're a totally different model. I mean, like private practices, it's mainly like, crowns and bridges and things like that. And that's just not us. I mean, we're looking for patients that haven't been to the dentist in so many years. And so, I mean, most private practices don't want to do dentures because they're hard. Honestly, dentures are really hard to do and to do well. And so that's kind of why you have the benefit of having on-site lab and all that. But yeah, I mean, if a new dentist was like, hey, I'm working at this office for 2 days a week, I'd be like, okay, cool. It's just not scheduled around one of those days.
And the interesting part is that's in the letter agreement, and it does say that that's between you and your practice owner. So you would be making that decision, Doc. So each practice owner would be making that decision. You're absolutely right. Joe, anything else to add to that?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, dentists are in high demand, right? So we want to hire good dentists in our network. And I think others have done things like that. A lot of times what we see people that do that, though, is they end up coming to Aspen full time because you get to see the various new patients and see all the different type of different procedures that you get to do. So you're learning the most working for Aspen.
Yeah, honestly,
Excellent.
I think back to private practice, I'd be bored.
I could see that. I could see where that would be.
Yeah.
Doc, we're going to go back to some of the questions that were pre-submitted. So I want to get some of those answered too. So one of the questions around the clinical side is, do you feel like your clinical skills have improved while you've been working at Aspen Dental?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I started basically right new out of dental school. I mean, I worked for PDS in Las Vegas for just a couple of months before I got deployed for the military. And I mean, there, like, I don't ever want to talk, good about anyone else or anything. But like when I worked there, it was primarily doing crowns, and I did feel limited in my skill set because extractions you refer out, root canals you refer out, you refer out all the time for perio, for ortho. Like you don't get to touch an Invisalign case. Like you either do crowns and fillings or nothing. Whereas at Aspen, I do everything. Like, I mean, I've done molar endo. I've done, like I said, I learned how to do third molar extractions. Aspen sent me to the implant course where now I place, tons of implants. I think we did, I don't know. I think it was like 20 something implants last month. I don't know. I remember how many the month before. And I've only been placing them since December. So, I mean, it was a fast increase. I mean, you see so many patients and so many different patients because, again, people haven't been in dentists in 10 years. You're going to see everything. Some people will take care of their teeth really well and they're fine, after 10 years. They just need some, hygiene therapy. But most people, they need tons of extractions, they need dentures, and they need, full restorative and implants.
And Doc, maybe to elaborate on that, I have the other question here that I can drop down to, that what other types of CEs does Aspen provide or you to your associates?
I mean, so personally in my office, I've created, I have a couple CEs that I bought for myself that I provide to my, to my dentist or whoever wants to use them. But Aspen has this website. Was it Aspen Dental CE?
We'll put it up again. Yes.
Yeah, tons of stuff on there. I mean, I've watched a ton of videos. I mean, from everything from like how to handle malpractice claim all the way up to all-on-4 implant.
I'm going to put it in the chat because it's aspendentalce.com.
And I think it's free for even non-dental, non-Aspen Dental, right?
It is. It's free for any dental professional. Excellent. I put that in there. Okay, Doc. So the next question I have from the group here is if you're seeing 20 plus new patients, so I think we'll probably need to clarify how many new patients you're seeing, but if you're seeing 20 plus new patients a day, like you mentioned, how booked are you? Is that overwhelming? Are you, and then also here's the rest of it. Are you still in the military? What would happen if you got deployed again? Could someone cover your practice temporarily?
So in both of my offices, I have associates. And so when I see 20 new patients, like I said, that's a one-off. But I mean, on an average day, I think in my Topeka office, we see 10 new patients a day. In my Lawrence office, we see like 7 new patients a day. And it's not overwhelming because a new patient exam, most of that's handled by my dental assistant. When I walk in the room, I have my iTero scan up that shows like, a 3D model of their mouth. I have the x-rays up, their perio chart, and after I go through everything and verify everything, whatever the patient, I, explain it to the patient, go over basic expectations, what it is. And then I, ask them if they have any questions, and I send them on to talk to my office manager. My office manager will go over all the costs, get scheduled, all that. So Aspen kind of streamlined this, not like some dentists where they have to go in the room and they have to be like, oh, you need this, you need bridges, this is how much it costs, this is what your insurance is expected to cover. I don't do any of that. I just go in the room, tell the patient what they need, ask them if they have any questions, and I go on to the next thing. So realistically, the amount of time that I need to be in the room for a new patient exam is anywhere from like 7 to 15 minutes. So it's really not excessive. And I mean, that's just maybe on average. I mean, there's some new patient exams that are, oh, you need a pro fee, that's it. And, I say hello, goodbye to the patient. It's pretty easy. As far as, was that the only part of that question before I go on to the military?
The military. Are you still in the military? What would happen if you were deployed? Would someone be able to cover?
Yeah. So that's kind of the benefit of that I have in both my offices right now, being an owner, that I have someone that can cover me both. But I mean, even whenever I first started, I mean, like if I got deployed, I mean, Aspen has, again, a nice group of people in the area that they have, dentists that are working at other offices that come over and cover me for a couple months when I'm gone. But now as an owner, I have dentists in their office. So right now my offices are open and I'm on vacation. So
yeah, he's in Mexico right now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Safely. I'm vaccinated. So
hey, I have a COVID question. I'm going to ask that one next too. But
yeah.
Joe, have you had any experience with that where any of the doctors or any of the owners were in the military and needed coverage?
Honestly, as owners, not too much. I think Dr. Marina is one of the first, but like Dr. Marina said, that's the beautiful thing about being in the Aspen network is we are going to 100% support Dr. Marina in finding a doc to go there, whether it be hopefully somebody within the network or somebody that he's already hired, or us using others to get there long term if we need it.
Excellent. And Doc, I do have the question on COVID that they want to know, how has your average day changed due to COVID?
During the pandemic, I mean, we stayed open the whole time. I went down to my office in Lawrence, was the only one I had at the time because I was still an MC there. And we went down to 4 days a week and I reduced hours, but we stayed open the whole time. And it was kind of nice because in our town, we were one of the only offices that did stay open because everyone else closed during that time. So things got a little slow during COVID and everything, but we still, even on our worst month, we were still a profitable office and we still saw a ton of people, helped a ton of people.
Awesome. And Doc, we've got like 7 minutes left. So I'm wondering if you could wrap it up with maybe sharing a smile story or a patient that you had that impacted you think, the most, if you'd be willing to share something like that.
Sure. I mean, I have a ton of them because especially like dentures are difficult. I'm going to lead with that right now. Dentures are one of the hardest procedures you'll ever do, and do them well is very, very difficult. And so a lot of patients will come to you very disheartened and depressed about what they currently have. And so I've had multiple patients that come to me and they say, I hate my denture. My teeth look like horse teeth. I don't want to go out in public. I can't wear it. It's loose. I can't can't chew with it. I can't do these basic things. And so, you know, in addition to us making these really high quality dentures that are custom made in my lab, that I have the ability to, you know, change every little thing to, and I have my lab tech right there. You know, that if I'm like, hey, baby, and we're doing a wax try-in today, I need you to come into the room with me because I want to make sure it's absolutely perfect for a smile line because this patient really struggled with their previous denture. So many patients just see that time and care that, and, you know, personal touch that they get to put on their denture that really changes their, you know, their expectation of what dentures can be. Because most of the time when you go to private practice, I think I know one dental office that's a private practice that has a denture tech in his office. And I mean, every single Aspen has one. So patients really appreciate that. And whenever they come in with that, and I mean, in addition to now that we're adding implants in, and that's really improving the quality of, you know, of life for denture patients, it's really changed a lot for a great deal of our patients.
That's awesome, Doc. Thanks for sharing that. And Doc, can you go ahead and choose a number? Actually, it's between 2 and 35.
17.
17. So Eric Wood is our gift card winner tonight.
Congrats.
So Eric, congratulations. That's awesome. And Carmen and I will take care of that here after the event. And then Carmen, do you have gift card winners for the engagement part?
Yeah, I'll go through and count up the questions. It looks like we had quite a few from Julia and Ashby. So we'll let you know with those who our winner is for the gift cards, and I'll reach out to you after this.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Dr. Marina, thank you so much. Thank your wife for letting you take an hour out of your vacation time. We appreciate it. Enjoy your time there and be safe.
All right. Thank you, guys.
You bet. And Joe, thanks again for being on, taking the time for us tonight. We appreciate you answering all those questions on the ownership side too.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a good
Take care,
evening.
everybody.
Carmen,
Bye, guys.
we'll keep that
Thank
up
you.
for a few minutes here, okay? If anyone wants to get that information.
Yep. I don't think it'll let me click through. There we go.
There you go. Outstanding. And you're right. I have Julia and I have Ashby too. Those are the same ones I have.
And then Maggie.